Welcome back, everyone. I'm sure many of you have already heard, but today Joe Biden put forward some executive actions concerning gun control. So we're just going to walk through them real quick and again, kind of explain them for people who aren't gun people per se, who aren't like into this every day, but who own guns, right? And should be concerned about this, which is a lot of you and probably a lot of your friends. So let's just kind of walk through each one of them. There's a few of them in here. And starting out, it says the Justice Department within 30 days will issue proposed rule to help stop the proliferation of ghost guns. So throughout this, you're going to see a lot of terminology that is emotionally charged, right? Or intentionally mislabeling what things are. So all ghost guns is when someone makes their own firearm themselves and doesn't sell it. So throughout the history of the United States, individuals have always been able to make their own firearms and use them accordingly. You know, in the time of the Constitution, they were using forges. Today, they're using 3D printers or sometimes even commercially produced 80% kits, which is basically either a pistol frame or a rifle frame that is not finished out at all. It's not a firearm and does not need to be serialized as long as the person who finishes it doesn't sell it. So conservative estimates I've seen around say that right now there's probably 8 to 15 million of those out in the United States right now. And again, they were 100% legally produced. And who knows, there really could be a whole lot more than that, without question. There's a lot of different ways you can make your own firearm. You can go down to Lowe's right now and make one for $30. And it's perfectly legal. So they're trying to stop that, despite really there being no grounds for doing so. Again, throughout the entire history of this nation, people have been able to do it. It's never been a problem. Why is it a problem now? It's not. So there is that. They offer up no data about these things being used in crimes by criminals, nothing of the sort. So next point is the Justice Department within 60 days will issue a proposed rule to make clear when a device marketed as a stabilizing brace effectively turns a pistol into a short-barreled rifle subject to the requirements of the National Firearms Act. So the National Firearms Act, for folks who don't know, anything that falls under it, in this case would be a short barrel rifle is what they're trying to say. In order to own it, the item needs to be engraved. The item needs to be registered with the federal government, including your name and address where the item is stored. And you need to pay a $200 tax, and you need to go through a new background check. Anybody who has access to it needs to have their fingerprints done and go through that background check as well. And again, estimates are all over the place out there in terms of how many of these there are out there. But I just read an gun industry association report on it, and they said that they estimate $10 to $12 million. So let's just say it's 10. We're getting into the billions of dollars in tax revenue that would force people to pay. And of course, they'd also have to engrave them, which costs money. So if you had, 3 or 4 of these braced pistols, let's say, which is not uncommon, there's a whole lot of people that have that, you're looking at $600 to $800 in fines to keep something you already own. And you also have to pay the money to get it engraved, which varies depending on where you're at, but add a couple $100 extra onto that. And why are you doing this? What is keeping anybody safer? It's not. There's absolutely nothing that's safer about it. And if a criminal wants to have a concealable assault style rifle, which is what Joe Biden called it, they don't care about stock laws or short barrel rifle laws because they're criminals. So they're just going to make them regardless. And in here, it references that the alleged shooter in Boulder used a braced pistol. So one person uses it in a crime, and suddenly the millions of Americans who use them for perfectly legal reasons every day in America and own them and choose to defend their family and their property and their liberty with them are all punished and now are all criminals. So I'll roll in a little meme here about DUIs here that'll kind of summarize what they're saying here in terms of braced pistols. The exact same thing is perfectly analogous to this meme. It's just absolutely insane and devoid of reason and logic. And will not save anyone. It will not protect anyone. Again, that criminal in the Boulder shooting could have easily put a stock on it because obviously he wasn't concerned about committing the crime of murder. So I'm pretty sure he wasn't concerned about committing the crime of illegally owning a short barrel rifle. Next up, the Justice Department within 60 days will publish model red flag legislation for states. Importantly, it also says here that it will essentially encourage states to adopt it. Typically, when they do things like that, it means they're going to give them tax breaks if they go ahead and institute the government-approved red flag laws. So there are a litany of problems with red flag laws. They can have mental health hearings, depending on the state right now, with you not even being there, having no representation at all in the hearing, declare you mentally unfit, again, without even your knowledge that it's happening, and then armed men from the government show up to forcibly seize your legally owned property despite no threat existing at all and you not committing any crime, right? That's insane. That is completely antithetical to everything in the Bill of Rights, and it violates multiple constitutional amendments, and that's what they're trying to do, and they're trying to do it on a federal level. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just absolutely, it's unconstitutional in multiple ways, and depriving someone their ability to have their due process in court to own a legally, constitutionally protected item. That's what they're trying to do. Next step is the administration, is investing, if I could read, in evidence-based community violence interventions. Basically, they're talking there about inner city crime, and that's where the majority of this stuff happens, how to solve it. From what I can tell, there's no super infringements going on right now. They're just going to study it. Next up, there's going to be the Justice Department will issue an annual report on firearms trafficking. Goes through, apparently it says that they haven't done that since 2000. And then again, refers to online sales and quote unquote ghost guns, which again has nothing to do with trafficking at all. Ghost guns are not guns. I don't care what they want to call them. They're not guns until they are completed by the person at home who lawfully does so. So there is that. Now, if they really want to look into gun trafficking, they can look into Fast and Furious and see all of the guns that the federal government through the ATF and the person who is now nominated to become the head of the ATF, who was personally involved in, ran down to Mexican cartels. He was part of that, and they definitely did that. They were probably the biggest gun traffickers in the world, arming cartels across Mexico and Central America. So there's definitely been some reports on it. Maybe they could look that up. So there is that. And then again, they go in, the last point is to nominate David Chapman, the person who I was just referencing, to serve as the director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. I could probably do a video on this person. He is absolutely a statist thug. He was part of the raid at Waco. He was involved, like I just said, in Operation Fast and Furious to arm cartels, so that way those cartels could turn around and shoot innocent Mexican citizens, shoot Border Patrol agents, shoot really anybody they felt like, Mexican government officials with those guns. That's the kind of person and the things he believes in. And now he's going to be running the ATF. He also believes that any semi-automatic rifle should be classified under the NFA, which we already referenced earlier, so that way it would be registered, $200 stamp, engraved, an additional background check that you've already gone through, etc. So that is who that guy is. He is not a friend of liberty at all. He is, in fact, a tyrant. So that is what's happened right now. What does it mean to you? Nothing. Nothing right now. Because absolutely none of this has happened. The earliest it could happen from what they've written here is 30 days and 30 to 60 days. So right now, and again, it doesn't mention if there's going to be any grandfather clauses, anything like that. What I would encourage you to do is continue purchasing firearms as you see fit. If you don't have any brace pistols and you want to get them, I get them now. If you want to get a bunch of 80% lower receivers or buy yourself a 3D printer, I'd get one now. Absolutely. Depending on where you watch this video, I'll put links down below where you guys can pick them up. But I would absolutely encourage you to do that because, well, for several reasons. Number one, common use is something that's been used in many Supreme Court decisions to decide whether or not something should be lawful. And the more and more of these items are out there, the higher the rate of common use should this ever see a court. So more and more of us having them makes it harder and harder for any type of legislation or rules changes to stand up to a court of law. So that's one of many, but basically, guys, that's the update. That's what we know right now. Stay tuned to the channel. If you're not subscribed, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because as these rollouts happen, if they happen, we will be updating you, so that way you're armed with the knowledge you need to defeat these things. Additionally, again, all of the contact information for your representatives, senators, and the White House will be down below in the video description. So I absolutely encourage all of you to contact them, let them know that this type of executive action is simply unacceptable, and that you will not stand to have your constitutional rights trampled on by tyrants in the White House. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you in the next video.